Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, May 16th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Jonah Booker in just a moment. We have a lot to get into. I was going back through some quotes from spring ball, and one that I missed, Larry Johnson talked up one of these younger D tackles that we're hoping will be a solid backup. We're going to start off with that. Soon it's going to be get your popcorn time. Maybe it already is with what's going on up north. Jay Book and I will get into that. What's going on with D-line recruiting? Still no D lineman in the class. Larry Johnson's a legend. He's won 2 national championships here. You talk to the guys who are here, they all say the main reason they came was Larry Johnson. But last year they had to settle for some guys after missing some of their top targets. Although they feel good about the 4 guys they got on the D-line in the 2025 class. But, you know, what's going on with D-line recruiting? And we'll get Jay Book's thoughts on that and much more. Before we do that, I want to let you guys know about our friends over at Cornbread Hemp. THC Seltzer, that's their newest product. Look at this, THC Seltzer. It comes in a 4-pack. There you go. And they also have the only USDA-approved THC gummies. Been telling you guys about them for a while, and they're a good American company, right? Our neighbors down in Kentucky. So, as they like to say, it's time to experience your healthy happy hour. Again, America's only USDA-approved organic THC gummies, USDA-approved organic THC seltzers, brand new, really cool stuff. They got a bunch of different flavors too. Real THC, no synthetics, 100% legal hemp, fast and free shipping. We've got a great deal for you guys. As a special offer for Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners, you can get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/bucknuts. Use promo code Bucknuts at checkout. Again, that's cornbreadhemp.com/bucknuts. Use code Bucknuts for 30% off your first order. Cheers to a healthier happy hour. Oh, buddy, I tell you what, Jay Book, I think our friends up north are going to need a lot of cornbread hemp. They're gonna need to relax. You know, it's gonna be rough on them.
I know it's going to be, what is it, June 6th, June 7th or something like
June 6th
that?
and 7th. Yeah, it's a two-day hearing. Yep.
Man, I would pay money if they broadcast that as a pay-per-view. I'm like, just take my money. How much do you need? I just want to watch that thing and watch them squirm. It should be fascinating. I was actually driving around listening to some of the Michigan talk show up there in Detroit, and they were saying guys who normally had their backs, like the Joe Klatt, the Josh Pates, who really went to bat for those guys, are kind of stepping back and say, you know what? There might be something here. There might be a little bit more than what we were anticipating, even though Ohio State and Michigan State fans are screaming the hammer's dropping. They don't know if the hammer's going to drop, but they are saying something's coming that will impact that program.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess it's your definition of hammer. I keep saying it's going to be at least hammer adjacent, because I would consider hammer like lose the natty. Not quite the death penalty what SMU went through, but something close to that. I don't think they're going to lose the natty. I wasn't even going to talk about this to lead off the show. It's just, yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. If you read the 13-page Big Ten report that was released like a year and a half ago, that lays it all out that they're in big trouble. But people have been in denial, including national writers national figures like Joel Klatt, and they've completely changed their tune. It's all adding Santa Ono leaving when he did. It's all adding up. I think they're going to get hammered, no pun intended, pretty good. But I don't think they're going to lose the natty. I could be wrong though.
No, I don't think they're going to lose the natty. I think that's outside of the NCAA's jurisdiction anyways, because that is hosted by the playoff committee. I do think that they can and probably will be hit as repeat offenders for some of the other issues that they had. I think that's going to be the situation with Sharon Moore as well, that he can be viewed upon as a repeat offender. I don't think that the sanctions that they gave to Jim Harbaugh with his show cause, I don't believe that the NCAA is just going to say that's good enough for us. Something's going to happen. Either way, like I was saying last week, Dave, regardless of whatever happens, you can rest with peace knowing that this program is still going to be viewed at in the lens of one of the dirtiest programs in college football history. During that run, that 3-year run, you essentially had 18 different staff members either charged with federal crimes, fired for felonies, fired for overstepping their boundaries with the NCAA, telling players and staff members not to speak, not to cooperate. Guys having to bolt to the NFL because they knew that they were going to be hit with a show cause. So either way, how it drops, you can still know that, hey, that program was absolutely dirty.
Emily already let the cat out of the bag. It wasn't a big secret. I posted a story on the site yesterday. We'll switch gears. Maybe we'll circle back on Popcorn Festival, as I'm calling it. Town I grew up in actually has the festival is called the Popcorn Festival. So,
Real. So
yeah.
what do you show up and like different people, vendors bring their version of popcorn and stuff?
Yeah. Beaver Creek Popcorn Festival. Yeah.
I bet you it's delicious too, huh?
It sounds good. Yeah, different, kind of, you have like caramel corn, cheese topped. I always liked, the caramel corn and just regular, buttered popcorn. But yeah, all kinds of different kinds, candy coated, all kinds of good stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a popcorn festival for Buckeye fans and Michigan State fans. And I really think Big Ten fans overall, just read the Big Ten. If you haven't, get on Bucknuts, we have it linked on there on our 9 million page thread that really is just recapping what the 11 Warriors investigators are doing, with some of us chiming in. But I have the link on there. It's on page 280. Get on page 280 on the front row message board. I have it linked on there. You can read that 13-page report. And for legalese, it's actually not legalese. Tony Petitti wrote it, and he keeps it pretty in layman's terms throughout. It's an easy read, 13 pages. It's not that long. Some of these legal documents, man, can be 60 pages or longer. So I encourage everybody, read that 13-page report if you haven't already. I'm sure many of you have. But we had a lot of people on Bucknuts saying, man, for some reason, Jay Book, I never read this. This is incredible. I'm like, yep. And I mean, he just absolutely skewers them. So I think they're in big trouble. I said I'm
going to have to go and read that. And I think Josh Pate, a couple guys on Twitter had kind of called him out. Josh Pate was saying the worst thing that can happen to them, which would be the equivalent of the death penalty, is giving them a postseason ban. Like, what are you talking about, bro? They gave themselves a postseason ban last year because they didn't qualify for the playoffs. It's not like they are poised to be in the playoffs over the next several years. That's why I thought the way that they were maneuvering and handling this process was an epic failure. They could have probably been done with this entire saga if they would have just took their medicine last year. Just say, you know what, Jim's gone. You're right. It's a rebuilding year. Sharon's first year. Let's take our medicine, get it out the way. Who cares if we play Alabama in the bowl game? 2025, we start fresh. But this thing continues to drag on. And the one thing that they've been saying is it could be impacting their recruiting right now, because they really can't talk NIL numbers with recruits because they don't know if they're going to be scholarship reductions. They don't know what their situation is going to look like with the NCAA. Until that's all cleared up, they haven't been talking financial figures like a lot of the major players in college football.
Okay, I'll stop lying. I mean, maybe we'll circle back on it, but now we'll move on. All right, so the young D tackle I'm talking about, he's not even that young. He's entering his third year. You know I'm talking about, who LJ talked up a little bit?
Junior.
Yep, Will Smith Jr. And this is for those that didn't hear me earlier. This isn't something he said yesterday. I just did a story for our site yesterday. It's free. Anybody can go read it. I retweeted it this morning. And I was going back through my quotes, and LJ's very soft spoken. Sometimes you can't really. So I'm listening to the audio. I'm like, try to play it back, and I'm like, somebody asked him just about a bunch of these backup D tackles, and it's like, if any of those guys really caught your eye, he goes, Will's really stepping up. And I had to play it back. Yeah. Will Smith Jr. is stepping up, and he said a few other things he's really. So now I feel like now, if I had to pick somebody who's going to be that guy, who's going to be the top backup, it sounds like it's going to be Will Smith Jr. I mean, that's pretty strong praise coming from LJ.
And I think you guys, go check on the Bucknuts website. There's an article posted over there as well talking about how Will Smith Jr. has stepped up. So give that. It's a really good read. And I would say this, Dave, as far as him, he's put in the work. I'm just looking at his size because he came in and a lot of people thought that he was undersized. and it was going to take him a little bit of time to really transition. Some people thought that he was kind of viewed as a project, but the genetics is there. The one thing that you can't shortchange Will Smith Jr. about, that a lot of people at the program have said, is he works his butt off. And this is a kid, keeps his head down, keeps grinding, keeps grinding, keeps grinding, and he's going to get his window of opportunity. The question is, will he jump through that window and grab it by the balls and say, hey, I'm going to be in the rotation this year? And it's great that Larry Johnson is talking him up. I mean, and you've been on the beat, quite a bit of time, Dave. And typically coaches don't bring up players unsolicited unless they think those players are going to be able to contribute some way. For Larry Johnson to bring him up, that tells me that, hey, they're eyeing him. Either they're giving him the confidence via the media to saying, hey, oh, they're talking about me. I'm on the radar. The coaches, my time is now. Or he truly believes like he has the potential to really help this defensive line. And we talked about it. He has to be one of the guys that steps up. Him and Tywan Malone, two huge figures. If Will Smith, and I was saying a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the defensive tackle depth, and I was saying that Tywan Malone, I thought, was a key cog for this defense because they really need him to finally step up because they paid him quite a bit of money coming over from Ole Miss to transfer. He's now kind of been away from baseball for the last several years, and I thought that he was a key cog. Now you start to add in Will Smith there, and you're like, all right, let's go. Like, we need those two. I would be happy if we can just get one, Dave. One of those guys
Right.
that step up, and then hopefully you can bring in some other guys like a Eric Mensah or Jason Moore along as you continue to progress.
I did notice something in Will Smith Jr.'s favor as well. After I read this quote from LJ, I went back and looked, like the guys that started the spring game and then were out of there quickly. That's a good sign. Like, it wasn't quite James Peoples where he got 2 carries during thud only and they got him out of there because they know James Peoples is the man. But I noticed Will Smith Jr. started the game. Now, he's not going to be a starter, and he didn't play a lot of snaps. That tells me they didn't need to see Will Smith Jr. out there a lot because they think he's at least in the plans. He still needs to improve.
That's a great point, Dave. That's a really good point because to me, you would think that, hey, the spring for a guy like Will Smith Jr., this is the time that where you need to take a gigantic leap. For them to pull him early in the spring game and say, we don't need to see enough, that right there is a telltale sign all throughout spring practice that he has shown enough that they feel good about where he's at. Here's the other thing too, Dave. Keep in mind, a lot of people says that they have this perception that Ohio State didn't want to spend what market value was for the defensive tackles. But what did Ryan Day say to you guys? He said, if we're going to look and we're going to attack the portal, however, we're not just going to bring in guys that we don't think can play here. They have to be better than the defensive tackles that we currently have. So if Ohio State really wanted to open up the checkbook and they saw a guy like the defensive end from North Carolina, that you think that kid's coming up here for the cheap? Absolutely not, considering that he had plenty of other suitors as well. So that kid, I guarantee you, he has a nice NIL package. But Ohio State felt comfortable and said, bring him in because he's going to be a little bit better than what we have. They looked at those defensive tackles that were in the portal, and they didn't think that they were necessarily better than what they currently have on the roster. So that can give you a little glimmer of hope to say, maybe Will Smith, Tywan Malone, they are coming along. Maybe we are shortchanging those guys and panicking just a little bit more than what we probably should if the coaches really feel that what was out there in this wave of transfer portal, they weren't going to beat those guys out. I think it's fascinating because, we keep saying and harping that position is really the biggest question mark when you're talking about the defense, but maybe we're overselling it just a tad.
Curious to get J-Book's thoughts on the recruitment of the defensive linemen lately. Last year as well as so far this year. It's early. It's May.
Mhm.
I mean, LJ has a really good history of he struck out on some guys he really wanted in that 2021 class. Ends up landing Tyleek Williams. People thought he was a fallback option. Ends up being a first-round pick. The entire starting defensive line gets drafted. Everybody who I talk to who's currently a player, who's a defensive lineman, says that's why they came. But recruiting, it seems to be he's the weak link now. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that. But before we do that, I'm going to let everybody know about Huel. I've been telling you guys about Huel. It's a really cool product. You guys got to try it. It's the Huel Black Edition ready to drink is a meal in a bottle. Yeah, a meal that you drink. One bottle contains 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, and is low in sugar. Huel is a perfectly balanced meal designed by nutrition experts. It takes the guesswork out of healthy eating. It's a great product, and we have a great deal for you guys. New customers visit Huel.com/Bucknuts, HUEL.com/Bucknuts. Use our code Bucknuts to get 15% off your first order, plus a free gift. Huel is amazingly convenient. No prep, no hassle. Just grab and open. It tastes good. As I keep saying, I wouldn't endorse it if it didn't taste good. It tastes good. This is their vanilla. They've got a bunch of different, or a few different flavors. I've had their chocolate, their strawberry, banana, and their vanilla. All good stuff. Healthy and easy, and we can get you a good deal. It's all good stuff. Again, new customers visit Huel.com/Bucknuts today. Use our code Bucknuts to get 15% off your first order, plus a free gift. Let me get the 15% off you, plus the free gift. If it's free, I'll take 3. All right, LJ is a recruiter. We have a thread on the message board, which happens every year at this time, I think, right?
Right.
And he is. I get it. You look at, compare him to anybody else on the staff right now. Everybody else is just crushing it. And I'm sure it's negative recruiting is going on like crazy, like it has been the last few years with LJ. Oh, he's going to retire. He's going to retire. And he still hasn't retired. What do you make of that? Because he's the GOAT. You can't really, if you're Ryan Day, this is a man that's helped Ohio State win 2 national championships since he's been there. What's your take on this situation?
If we're being honest, he is the weak link when it comes to recruiting right now, compared to what you currently have when you're looking at Walton and James Laurinaitis and Matty G back there. He is probably the weakest link of the full-time position coaches. With that being said, he doesn't have kids right now. However, I think Ohio State's sitting in a really good position for several recruits. I think it's critical that they need to get PJ Dean out of North Carolina this summer. If they can get him in the fold, I think that's going to be a pretty big get. They're right there in the mix for Luke Waffle, edge rusher out of New Jersey. I think Ohio State's probably right there in that top 2 or 3. The other 2 are the Harris twins out of North Carolina. Ohio State's hitting North Carolina pretty hard. Larry Johnson is out of Matthews. They are the teammates of Trajan Odom, who's going to be on campus. I think Odom's a late enrollee, if I'm not mistaken, Dave. I think he gets there this summer. So getting the Harris twins, if you can get those 2 and you can get PJ Dean this summer, then you're sitting pretty good. Now you can really start swinging for the fences with Luke Waffle. And then there's a kid out of Glenville, Dave. Name is slipping my mind. He's an absolute unit as a defensive tackle. The kid's like 360 pounds or something like that. A Glenville kid, Jameer Perez. That dude is an absolute beast. I think he has an offer as well. He's a 3-star recruit, not really nationally ranked there. But when you got a guy that size, and we all know if you get a Glenville player, he's going to be coming in tough. The moment's not going to overwhelm him. So I think you can probably add him in the fold sooner rather than later. So he has some pieces on there. There hasn't been a lot of guys that's actually moved off the board right now, even though we're starting to get into official visit season. Carter Meadows is a big target out of Washington, D.C. I think they really need to hit it out the park with him once he get on the visit. But the thing is, Dave, you look at Larry, and the question is always going to be asked, how much longer is he going to be there? I thought this after the national championship, just my personal opinion, I thought after the national championship, this was the perfect time to bring in a full-time younger D-line coach, transition Larry to kind of like your overseer, someone who, because you can have unlimited coaches right now, have him be kind of on the back end, helping to mentor this younger coach who's going to be that young bulldog recruiter on the trail. I thought this was the perfect time. I don't know if you kind of move Larry upstairs to more to being an analyst and still paying him a hefty salary to be around the program. But I just think that they probably are getting negative recruited because I think Larry probably has 1 to 2 more years at the max. And then you're going to transition to probably a younger coach. Here's the thing, too, Dave. If they can get a young, dynamic coach to catch up, recruiting chops wise, as far as like what James Laurinaitis is doing, what the secondary is doing, there's nothing that can stop this Ohio State defense from being just absolutely lights out. Eric over here was mentioning LaAllen Clark. He said LaAllen Clark left because LJ isn't going anywhere. And it's true. I mean, LaAllen Clark is going to Texas. I mean, LaAllen's recruiting really well, but also keep in mind he has that Texas oil money at the wind of his back. So anytime you have that as an NIL purse, you're going to be recruiting well. But I thought LaAllen Clark, if he was good enough, Dave, and tell me if I'm wrong, if Texas thought that LaAllen Clark was good enough to be their full-time position coach, and he's been on your staff for several years, I would feel like I would have gave Clark that job now and started that transition with Larry.
Coach Day's in a tough spot. I think Coach Day, if we gave him truth serum or just talking to him off the record, I think he would agree. That would have been a nice he would have preferred Larry to ride off in the sunset after, and then they would still so Larry's not sitting at home with nothing to do, because all he knows is football. He doesn't want to be bored and be at home. I get it. So
Right.
like you're saying, still ask him what else he would like to do. Now he probably doesn't want to do anything else other than like recruit and coach. I get it. It's what he's the GOAT. And he's helped them win 2 national championships. So you can't fire him, right?
No.
So it's just it puts Coach Day in an interesting position, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way. Just me, because you're right. You can't fire Larry coming off a national championship.
Right.
But at some point, I do think that you got to have a contingency plan, and I'm sure Ryan Day does. But the thing is you had a talent right there already in your room in LaAllen Clark, who's being paid big money to be the defensive line coach for Texas, who is going to be probably the number 2 team in college football. And when you look at Texas and what they got returning, they got several NFL caliber guys on that front. I just think that LaAllen Clark would have made sense to keep him in the house, keep him from a place like Texas, and then still have Larry involved in the program. I know it's being greedy, and that's just me being greedy, saying, man, I want to be able to have both guys around. But I just think that it'd have been a smooth transition right after the national championship and say, okay, Allen's the guy, Larry, let's have you take a little step back, but we still want you to be involved with the program in some capacity. But Allen's going to go ahead and take over the reins of that position group full time. That's just my opinion.
I'm with you. And I would say it's setting up to have like LaAllen, get his experience at a big time program elsewhere and then come back to Ohio State. But it's Texas. It's not like he's
Texas,
going to
man.
Yeah, it's not like he's going to like Iowa or like a solid program, or that's
right.
a good program. It's like, okay, he went and got his chops there for a year or 2 at Iowa or whatever. Name a school that's a decent program. And he's going to come back to Ohio State when LJ retires.
Yeah.
Man, he might get pretty comfortable at Texas. They're going to be able to pay him as much as Ohio State could. I don't know, man. I'm with you. I think he's
Texas will go band for band money-wise with Ohio State. And like you said, it's not like he's going to a program that you're saying, go there, your friends top 15, friends top 25 program, you're getting valuable experience. Nah, man, you're swimming with the deep fish, because right now what you're staring at, Texas and Ohio State are battling on the recruiting trail. I mean, we saw that head-to-head battle with the Syracuse defensive tackle. Now, obviously, Texas has unlimited NIL funds, and the rumor has it that they were willing to pay $750K for that defensive tackle out of Syracuse that Ohio State had a lot of interest in. But Allen, I don't know, man. I mean, you're talking about a younger, hungry coach who has all of that money at his back. He's going to be tough to beat on the recruiting trail. And considering he's going to sell the narrative like, I could have stayed at Ohio State if I wanted to, but I chose to go here to Texas. So that's why I think that having Allen still within the program as your D-line coach probably would have been that sweet spot.
And I'm sure it's a big reason Hero Canoe went to Texas. I'm sure like he likes Allen. There's a multitude of factors. I'm sure Hero was not thrilled with his playing time last year, though he never had a bad attitude. That kid always has a good attitude. Right. I really like Hero. I won't be rooting for him in game one, but I'll be rooting for him overall for the season. So I'm sure they brought him there saying, okay, we'll definitely, you'll get more playing time here at Texas. But then, dude, as you know, they got 4 more D tackles in the portal, including at least 2 who are better than Hero, the young man that you mentioned, and somebody else I was looking at. And then they got 2 other ones on top of that. So I wonder if Hero is regretting his decision.
Right. And here's the thing why I was so high on Allen Clark as well, because what did JT Tuamalu say once it was announced that Texas hired Allen? I think JT tweeted out like, oh man, y'all stole one from us. Meaning that those guys were very high. So if a lot of those guys who were upperclassmen who are off to the NFL are saying, man, you stole one from us, meaning that tells you that they were very high on him as well. I just think that anytime you have a coach that is good enough to be hired to coach at a program which is in the top 5 in college football, you probably should figure out a way to try to keep him around, especially because the dynamics kind of allowed you an off-ramp here. It kind of allowed you a situation to say, hey, I'm good with paying Larry his salary, but Larry, we're going to transition you out because this is our contingency fan.
All right, man. Great stuff as always, Jay Book. He is Mr. Jonah Booker. Thank you very much, sir. Always
Hold on, before we hop out of here, I'll be remiss. Big Noon, man. Thoughts? We're getting a lot of questions about that in the chat.
Yeah. So have they changed it? Is the Texas game now going to be at night? Did I miss something? Or are they just talking about it?
I don't know. Maybe news broke while we were on the air or something.
Well, yeah. Doreen's saying big noon at night. Love it. Maybe that's just wishful thinking, or maybe she knows something. This is the problem when I get in the bunker and do the show. If I have breaking news, I'm relying on the chat. It reminds me of like when we do post-game live. Or not, it's not called post-game live. That was like 10 years ago. When we do what we learned live after the games, it's like when certain big games are going on. Yeah, I can have the TV on, but I can't. And they're like, oh my gosh, touchdown Clemson, touchdown Bama, touchdown Penn State. And I'm like, man, okay, we gotta get so I can like watch the games.
Yeah, you and I have never really even talked about the whole Fox, like Ohio State being consistently forced to be put on Big Noon. What are your thoughts on that?
See, here's how I feel about it. Like selfishly, I like noon games because I can get my work done and still watch college football, at least some, because I have to work obviously for a few hours after the game. It's not like just when the game ends, I stop working. But I think for Ohio State, which is I care more about that, like the greater good of Ohio State football and the fan base than just my personal wants. And I think a game like Texas absolutely should be a night game. At the very, very, very least, it should be a 3:30 game. Why not make it a night game? First of all, I've been to games late August, early September at Ohio Stadium where it is just like almost like unsafe to be there. It's so hot. I think John Cooper's last season, 2000, they played Fresno State in the opener. David Carr was their quarterback, future #1 pick. Dude, it was like 105 degrees in the stands. You can look at people were passing out. It was bad. So why not make it a night game for a multitude of reasons? And I know Fox, this is part of the people are going to say, well, it's in the contract. Yeah. This is what you signed up for. If you want all this money, they told you they're going to do this big noon stuff. Yeah, but Ohio State's taking the bullets more than anybody else by far. They should do whatever they can to. I don't know if there's anything they really can do as far as Ross Bjork to throw their weight around. Maybe
Right.
make threats that if you don't do it now, we're going to make sure in the future this gets taken care of. I don't know, but yeah, man, I like noon kicks, but a game like Texas absolutely should be a primetime game.
Here's my problem with it, Dave. So everybody's saying, "Oh, you signed a contract." Yes, you said yes. The Big Ten signed a contract, and Kevin Warren is the gift that keeps on giving because that was Kevin Warren's baby as he was exiting out the building. The problem that I have two problems actually. So you're telling me that all of the money that is being dispersed around is because Ohio State is having to carry the load for the entire conference when it comes to Big Noon. So once the negotiations come back around, if you're Ohio State, why shouldn't Ohio State ask for more piece of the pie? So you're saying we have to do 6 Big Noon games with Fox out of 12, but we still have to share and get the same check as Purdue, as Northwestern, as Rutgers. Like that doesn't make any sense if you're Ohio State. And then you add the other issue that I have is you're bringing in these West Coast teams. If they're really good, guess what? You're never going to be able to have them on Big Noon on the West Coast. The only time that you're going to be able to get them on Big Noon is if they come east. So essentially, anytime Ohio State has to travel out west to play one of these teams, if they're really good, you're going to have to experience them in a primetime atmosphere. But no, Ohio State, home game, noon, baby. I just have and here's the other thing. Fox owns the rights to the Big 12 as well. So Fox has that whole entire catalog of games in the Big 12 that they can also put on Big Noon. So what you're looking at is you got 12 games. Ohio State's having to play 6 of them. So you're telling me that Ohio State is having to carry the load for Fox for 2 different conferences for that noon time slot. So if you're Ohio State, like, why are you sitting back just taking that happily? Like, no, we're carrying the load for you. The money that's being generated is on the backs of Ohio State football for not only this conference, but we're having to do it for the Big 12 as well. I don't know, man. I just think that Ross Bjork, like Patrick Murphy said, at minimum, the next negotiation, they need to have at least 1 or 2 veto powers.
Yeah, and I understand the argument that, I don't know if Doreen was joking that Robert's a lawyer, but maybe, Robert, you are a lawyer. Correct me if say it either way. But he's right when he says this. Robert on YouTube is saying the contract is signed, bottom line. Ohio State has no power to change it. The only hope is leverage of future contracts. I agree. If the Big Ten wanted to be, and Fox wants to be a hard ass about this, be like, nope, you signed the contract. Then what Ohio State should do, in my opinion, is tell them, okay, when the next contract negotiations come up, we're going to have a bigger piece of the pie or we're going to get out.
Yeah.
And maybe they'd call Ohio State's bluff because I don't think Ohio State wants to leave the Big Ten.
No.
But they at least need to threaten that because it's ridiculous that Ohio State does not get a bigger piece of the pie. If Clemson and Florida State can get a bigger piece of the pie in the ACC, why shouldn't Ohio State get a bigger piece of the pie in the Big Ten?
They signed a contract on behalf of the recommendation of Kevin Warren, but it's a bad contract, Dave. I do not think Ohio State knew signing that contract that we would have to be the ones that carries the weight of Fox ratings on our back for all 17 other teams in this conference. So if we're having to carry the load, why aren't we getting a bigger piece of the pie? Why do we have to carry the load and still get the same amount of money as Purdue and Northwestern? It's almost like when you're in college and you have a group project and everybody shows up and putting in their work, but you always have one slacker that's part of the project. And you go up there and you kill it in front of the class and you guys get a good grade, but the slacker also gets an A, even though he didn't do very much. That's your Purdue, your Northwesterns. They're getting an A. You don't like it, but that's kind of the situation that they're in right now. It's a bad contract, and Ohio State can't do a whole lot about it right now. But I do think that in a sense, when you're having a good two-way relationship, even though they signed a bad contract, you should be a good steward to say, you know what? You guys have been a great partner. You guys have carried us. You have made us a lot of money. We've also paid you guys. Thank you for helping to carry the load. I hear you. We understand. You guys want less noon games. Let's try to work something out in good faith so that once the contract negotiations comes around, we'll be in good standings. We don't want you guys to be bitter towards us about this. We want to make sure that we have a financial partnership that's healthy, that's going to last throughout the future.
Just makes too much sense, doesn't it?
Right.
Oh, man. Great stuff as always, my friend. You have a good
All
weekend.
right. Talk to you next week, buddy.
All right, bud. Thanks,
Yep.
JB. He is the one and only J Book. Puts butts in the seats. Look at this live audience we have. Look at you guys. I'm gonna do. I'll do a little bit more show, but I'm a little late getting to Mando. Let you guys know about Mando and a good deal you guys can get. You guys know how to love me some Mando. You got to smell good. You know, you got to smell good. You look good. You feel good. You smell good. You feel good. And the people around you feel good. You don't want to smell bad. That's nasty. Mando is America's #1 whole body deodorant for men, and I highly recommend it to you guys. As I have told you guys, if you have been using the same deodorant for years upon years, like I was, it's time to try something new and better. That's where my friends at Mando come into play. Do you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant right now? You can get them at major retailers across the country: Target, Walmart, Meijer, many, many more. For the best deal, still go to shopmando.com. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. It's good stuff. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code Bucknuts at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them what we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier. Boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. I'm glad J-Book brought up the noon stuff. There's one more comment I want to make about that. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Sanchez. And I hope you saw the story that I wrote on your son yesterday. It wasn't new quotes. I was just going back to reading old quotes, and there was some great stuff from Devin Sanchez. I penned a story on young talented Mr. Sanchez. I hope the beautiful Sanchez family was able to see that. All right. If you haven't seen it, it's on Bucknuts right now. You can check it out. All right. So here's the deal. I'm a huge, you can walk and chew gum at the same time guy. So it's not like I have a big problem with this, but I kind of laughed when I saw I thought we had a comment. We had a comment about this. I meant to start, but I lost it. We had a comment about this asking about the bill, the Ohio Senate bill, the proposed banning of noon games of teams ranked in the top 10. I mean, obviously I agree that you're playing a top 10 game. It'd be nice if it's not a noon kick. I don't think we really need the state legislature getting involved in this though. And again, I don't have a problem with the federal government getting involved with NIL on college, because it's like everybody agrees, okay, we got to get some guardrails here. And if the federal government doesn't step in, there's not going to be any guardrails, because then every court case is going to get lost. The NCAA will lose any court case that deals with NIL, which is really pay to play. So I'm okay with that. You can walk and chew gum. This is a little too minor, I think, for the government to be getting involved. Do we really need the Ohio? You guys are all going to disagree with me because you guys all want night games. And I want the Texas game at night too. I just don't think it just makes us look silly, I think, on a national scale. You got the Ohio, Senate worried about noon games, and just the way it's worded is funny. I do like how the senator that did, or maybe it was a congressman, but I'm not sure if it was House, probably House, because the Senate then has to confirm it. It's probably a House bill. So the congressman who started, I do like how he said, there's 2 teams ranked in the top 10, Ohio State versus another top 10 team. It needs to be a night game. Can't be a noon game, or at least it needs to be a 3:30 game or a night game. But he said, with one exception, if it's a big rivalry game, talking, of course, about the game. So I don't know. I am glad there's a lot of heat on Fox. Last year, it was like people were complaining, but Fox was like, whatever. Now it's hard to ignore. You have Ross Bjork talking about it. We've talked about it on every show this week. Ohio's House and Senate is going to be dealing with this now. It's insane, but hopefully it works. Hopefully it works. But thanks to, okay, there we go. So D, you did say it. You did see my story. Okay, good. I mean, there's probably like many stories on your son. It's probably old news at this point, but he had some really cool comments. I would also encourage you and everybody like to read the comments under the story that people said about young Devin Sanchez, just how he carries himself like a grown man. He was well raised, as a lot of people in the comment section said. Helps when you have a good mother and father behind you. All right. And he mentions you guys in the story. All right. Great stuff from J-Book, as usual. Thanks to Mr. Jonah Booker. Thanks to all of you. I appreciate it very much. Hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend. Go Bucks, still basking.